Hello, everyone. My name is Emma.
And my name's Javion.
We are here today with new release rundown, showing off some of the hottest new games. We have a very exciting lineup today, and we have the games here, right, Javion?
Yeah, we have to show you all of the inside components, the
Yeah.
manuals, all the art. It's gonna be great.
Show off all the bits and stuff. It's going to be super exciting. So before I get started, just going to run down all the things we're going to cover today. We're covering Block Ness by Blue Orange. Tongue twister there. Overboss by Brotherwise Games, Fortune and Famine by Mid-Level Meeple, and Explorer Society from Wyrd Games. First off, I'm going to start with Block Ness. This is a 2 to 4 player game. 15 minutes. This is a family weight game, Block Ness from Blue Orange Games. And this is a game in which you're going to place plastic bits and try not to get knocked off the board. There's a player interaction here. Yeah.
It's like a play on the Loch Ness Monster. It's like
yes,
exactly. It's a joke. Okay.
Loch Ness, because you're trying to block other Loch Nesses off.
Right.
So this one is from the publisher, the description. The Loch Ness monsters are finally sticking their heads out of the water, but it looks like the lake isn't big enough for everyone. Starting with the first player and continuing around the board, each player is going to choose a segment from the reserve and use this to make the monster longer and longer. You're trying to use up all of your pieces. Let me grab the components real quick so you can see the kinds of things that you're going to be placing.
Yeah, one of the things you showed me that looks really cool is that they designed it to make it look like Loch Ness monsters are dipping into the water and poking out and
so the pieces, like a serpent. You have your head and you have your sections. So you're going to start off with your head and your tail in the board. I'm going to show that off in just a second, but you start off with a little baby Loch Ness monster, and then you have other pieces that you're going to go around and place into the board as time passes. And the board is really cool too. It has little holes so that all these pieces can fit into them. So this is your grid that you're going to be placing all of your pieces into. The box is nice because I'm going to try not to tip everything out here. All of the different monster sections fit right in there. Then you put the box on top as thus. To start off the game, you're going to put in your sections. So I'm going to set up what would look like a 2-player game. You have to start in the middle of the board here. See this section for the purple Loch Ness monster is a little longer because it's kind of an asymmetrical start. So you don't start with the same pieces. It's so cute when it's assembled. A little tiny monster there. So you can put it, the players go around and put their pieces in wherever they want. That would be starting. That's before the game starts. And now you just go back and forth trying to decide where your next pieces are go. There are all sorts of fun U shapes like this.
Oh, cool. So you can place them over the other Loch Nesses.
There's a few specific rules. Exactly. Yeah. So you can put them over. You can't go under. You can't kind of jam them in there. When you're placing your next segment, there are 3 spaces around the tail and 3 spaces right around the head. You can place it anywhere around those. Depending on player count, you see how the color of the water is gradated. So you have a bigger player space for if you have a higher player count. So
okay, that makes sense.
I'm going to put these a little closer actually so you can see. So yeah, talking about putting over, I could move in that space right next to there and cross over the purple Loch Ness. Once I've placed that piece, the tail would come out of the original one and then go into the end. And now this is so adorable. I just love this. And now I have a longer Loch Ness. You see how it's now it's longer, the little tail on the end there. Yeah. And you can go longer at the head or the tail, exactly like you said, Javion. It's dipping in and out of the water. So I put one near the front and then the head goes there. I put one near the tail. And yeah, let me grab the components so you can kind of see how many there are. You have about 12 or so of these components, all different shapes, building them out across the board. It's going to take you 15 minutes to play a game. I actually think this sounds super fun. This is very much up my alley as a game.
What kind of games does it remind you of? Because I immediately started thinking of Suro.
Yeah. Suro, very much so. Back when we used to work at Mox, Suro was definitely one that I would pitch to families in particular because it had the really nice component part to it. So just with those plastic stones, it just felt really good to hold those and move them around the board. You would be placing tiles to make the pieces swoop around the board and try and knock people off. And with this one, it's nice because it's a building game. So you have, as you progress and put more and more pieces there, you're just going to end up with this super cool board shape.
That's really
this
cool.
Is funny. I have the super long one here. Is like, oh, I'm just going to put it there. Some of these pieces are so long, like that's actually an illegal move for a 2-player game because it extends outside of the dark blue area. So
I see. I could be a little tricky.
I'm like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to put this piece. I think I might have already lost this game. So use your big pieces early on and being careful of placing that very first piece. Like this is definitely something I've already learned something about this game. Probably start nearish to the edges to make sure that your pieces, but also in a 2-player game with a smaller surface area, you might not necessarily end up using all your pieces. It's just whoever has used up more pieces over the course of the game is the winner.
So who designed the game? Have they made other stuff?
I'm not sure about the other stuff of it. This is by Laurent Escoffier with art by Simon Jushi.
Okay. Oh, but it's made by Blue Orange too, right?
Yeah. Publisher Blue Orange, who have made just like as a publisher, amazing, cute, adorable family weight games and a little heavier games. The colorfulness of it, like the box here, right? Just the bright colors, the ease of diving into it. This is the kind of game great for Board Game Store. We would put this out on the table and just like, hey, start putting pieces. A game that I love with a 30-second description to it, you know? So you put this piece in these 3 spaces, these 3 don't go off the edge of the board, keep going until you can't place any more pieces.
Right.
So
yeah, I like that it's like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. A little more specific with the placement rules is you might end up being blocked. So you can place over, as I had shown, you can't slide something underneath. So with this tall one, you couldn't put under. You can't go directly over the head or tail of a dragon. So you might get in a place where you're temporarily blocked, and then the other person will take another turn and they'll keep going, but they might make it so with another piece in some way you can go again. But otherwise, they'll just keep placing pieces until they can't place any more pieces.
Yeah, I really like the component quality to them. And like the color scheme that they chose, it actually kind of stands out against like the water and the other Loch Ness monsters. Blue Orange also made Photosynthesis, if you remember that game. It's the game with the trees. They're sort of like cardboard cutouts, and you're sort of seeing trees around this board. So it's kind of that Blue Orange does a good job making the comp look really like cheap or anything like that.
Yeah.
You're not gonna like snap them in half or something by accident.
Really high quality. I'm also a big fan of using the box here. You got the cool all the Loch Ness monsters on the side of the box. Using the box as an actual tray for it, because then you get the really 3D and the table presence, especially like seeing this at table on a con. And I like the weight of it too. There's definitely some strategy. Like I was saying, with your first hint of your very first piece, you can definitely make it a little difficult to you. And I think in a meta game, like somebody, you and me, going back and forth playing this game, we would do a game and say like, oh my gosh, I totally placed my first piece poorly at the very beginning.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if Derek is watching. I used to do new release rundown with Derek all the time. And one thing, I've never been on this side before where I get to sort of ask you questions. I was always the one showing off games. So I get to ask you my favorite Derek question. Who would you recommend this game for, Emma?
I would recommend this game, for just about anyone. Absolutely. For families, this says 8+ on it. I think the size of the piece might be a little trickier for very young children, But the strategy of it, there's no reading to it. There's placement, so I think you could definitely play with younger kids. Kids could play together, which is one of my favorite games to recommend because if you're in a family, you know, the whole family playing together is great. But if you have multiple kids, just putting them off, like, here, play this game, and getting them to go off by themselves and play stuff is super cool as well. But even like I love this kind of thing, and I think for more of a hobbyist gamer, having a filler game, I've noticed too that even a lot of more hobbyist gamers love this just physical component thing. You know, sometimes like this is why we play board games. It's like for just really cool bits. It's got that toy factor to it, which I really love. Also, I've been playing a little bit solo as we've been chatting. And this piece, I was like, oh no, I'm never going to be able to fit this really long piece in here. But I placed this shorter piece and it opened up for me to be able to play this longer piece.
Okay.
So
yeah, there is some strategy to it.
Yeah, so you open yourself up. Yeah. Very cool. Ness by Wyrd Games. I'm really excited to see this at board game stores, at conventions, and excited to play it myself.
Awesome. Well, thanks for showing it off for us, Emma. All right.
Thanks.
So the next game we got here is called, and I'm going to show this one off, Overboss. Let me actually see if I'm doing this right.
Yeah, make sure it's right side up. Upside down.
It's upside down. Okay.
There you go.
There we go. All right. Yeah. Overboss. So you might recognize this main boss character right here. It's King Croak. So this is made by Brotherwise Games, and it's by the same people who made the other Boss Monster games. So if you can see on the title of it, it says Boss Monster Adventure. So Overboss is a tile placement, tile drafting, scoring kind of game. It's a competitive game where you're trying to use all these different, I'm going to show you, tiles on the board. I'm going to actually try to get it close without getting too much glare on it. Yeah, tiles on the board to try to make the best adventure for some heroes and attracting some heroes to come and die to your boss monster. Except you might actually know that like in the original boss monster games, you have heroes that will come in and will die. You'll collect their souls as coins. But in this game, you're just building out the tiles on the board. And I'll show you the board here in a second. So it looks like this on one side. Here we go. Yeah. So it looks like this on one side. And you can see that you've got plenty of space for all the tiles, and you've got the layer at the bottom. And in the layer, you can put like certain different types of tiles. And what you're doing is you're competing with other people. You're drafting these tiles in order to try to get as many points as you can, because it's also kind of a set collection type of game. Depending on where you place these tiles and where you place them in coordination with other kinds, if you get the certain number of like cloud city tiles or lava or volcano tiles and things like that, you'll get more points. So because you're drafting, you're going to be sort of like taking tiles away from other people that they can't have them, while also trying to balance what tiles you want to put on your board. The advanced mode, where you can get your own monster, where you can see you get King or this Ladonna or Killa, and there's like a bunch of other ones, but there's my favorite one. I'm going to pull it out. This one, Porcus. This is big pig, green pig monster. And each of them comes with special abilities that will activate once when you flip it over and reveal it. And of course, at the end of the game, you'll get extra points scored based on certain requirements. Like Porcus, you want to get a bunch of monsters and mini bosses, but you want to get unique ones. Each different type is going to get you extra points. So you're not just placing these tiles on the board and rearranging them. You're also placing monsters on them. You know, you have to fill up your dungeon or your world, your monster world, with as many like monsters and mini bosses, and sometimes like crystals and portals for the heroes to actually get attracted so that you can kill them. And at the end of the game, you use these scoreboards. You'll have like a pencil or something like that, and you'll mark down different terrain types and what scores you'll get for them, dungeons, mini bosses, and your final boss score if you have anything like that in the advanced game. So it's actually a relatively kind of simple-ish game. There's really only two actions you have to worry about. The drafting phase, where you're deciding which tile you want, and the placement phase, when you're deciding where to put your tiles. And there are some restrictions on like which terrain types are going to be available on different games, or which boss you took might decide which tiles you want to grab. Or if you can see that somebody's got a lot of one type of tile, you're going to want to take that one even if you don't have that many of them, because maybe you'll be able to use it for something, but you want to stop somebody else from getting too many of them. And it is sort of a quickish kind of game. I'd say more like 20 to 30 minutes, because filling out your board is pretty relatively simple. You're taking tiles and placing them down, deciding which tokens to place. Not that hard. And I like that because it's a huge box and there's all these different components. I mean, I didn't even show you all the many like slabs of cardboard with the the pop out tokens and stuff that come in this game. And another thing that I really love, like I think this is probably my favorite part of the game, is the they worked with game trays to design the interior of the box and the organization of the box. And normally you have to like get these things sort of like bought by like third party companies or like Etsy or something like that to get these organizers. But game trays, I love everything game trays does. They make organizers and different things for keeping things sorted out for your board game components. So you've got the top part. I'll pull it out and I'll show you. It's this plastic insert, and it looks really intricate and complicated. But it's just for holding all of the big stuff, right? Or anything for like while you're playing the game. Like that's so cool. Like when you're displaying tiles for drafting or like cards and stuff like that. But then they've also got, try to pull it out without ripping up the box. They've also got another plastic insert underneath it, and this is for more of the storage. And this goes underneath that top insert part. And you take this lid off, and you've got a place for every single tile. You can sort them out by terrain type. It's really cool. I love it.
Yeah, this just goes to show how much content is in this box. I've been holding the box up here. I'm
heavy.
You can see me hefting it here. This is a heavy box. There's a lot of cardboard in here. And I love those storage solutions too. When you have this much content, usually what ends up, you have to get your own storage. You have to pack it yourself and put in that effort, like how figuring out the solutions for everything. So having it pre-built in the box, and just the printing quality and component quality, the weight of the cardboard for it is so good.
Yeah, they definitely changed the art style a little bit too, from that sort of 8-bit, 16-bit old school retro style to more modern type of like RPG style.
Yeah, but still video game-ish, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can definitely recognize it as like cartoonish enough that you could see like, yeah, this is definitely a video game that they're going for. So yeah, Brotherwise Games, they made all of the other boss monster games. So you'll recognize those boss monster cards I was showing you. They're repeats, or sort of like a callback to those older games. So you'll see them from them. And they also made like a couple of other games like Call to Adventure and Unearth that kind of had that same sort of like simple but complex feel to them. So I really liked it when I was reading through like the rules of it and how simple it was. But I also like that it comes with an advanced variant, so you can sort of get more replayability out of it and play with like a more complicated version where you get those boss monsters, or you can get these terrain control cards, these command cards. Sorry, kind of hard to see, but yeah, if you can sort of like play the terrain tiles in certain like configurations of the same type or of a certain type, then you get to use these cards to rearrange in real time. You can rearrange placement of the tiles so that you can get a better score at the end. So yeah.
I, of course, want to give a shout out to Aaron Messburn and Kevin Russ, two designers near and dear to my heart, who are either in the Seattle group or friends of the Seattle tabletop game designers. Just amazing designers who are doing really cool stuff. So yeah, I love everything that's happening here. I think I will say when I saw this box, and potentially it could be a little intimidating. I think the art for that assuages that a little bit, because you're like, okay, it's kind of cute, but because Javion said it's 20 to 30 minutes to play this game. Like, no way, it's just got so much stuff in it. How is it 20 to 30 minutes? So I think having everything, when everything's like laid out, and doing the teach for it, and say like, hey, you know, like this a game with all this content and we can be done in half an hour, like I like that.
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend this for if you're at a convention or something, or if you're sitting at home and you want to pull out something that's not going to take a long time, but it's relatively simple to play with some strategy elements. It plays up to 5 players, or you could play it solo. Definitely would recommend this to families, or to gamers who want something a little bit less intense, something that has a lot of like replayability and really great table presence. Definitely give Overboss a check.
Yeah, and gosh, even like replaying, like you said, but I play 20 minutes, I'm hungering, and I can play another 20-minute game. I love that. Like, I know what's happening now. This is my new strategy.
Definitely check out Overboss if you get a chance. I think it's already out right now. I definitely saw it in in Mox when the last time I went by. All right, so we've got another game here. I'm going to show this one off too. This one is from Level Meeple, and actually the designer and artist are both a husband and wife combo. So this one's called Fortune and Famine. Let me pull it over here.
Yeah, and this one's not out yet. This is a very fancy special prototype copy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we got an exclusive for Gen Con today, for the showcase. Yeah, so that's what the cover art of the box looks like. Fortune and Famine is a game for, I believe, 2 to 6 players. So you can play with a lot of people. And it is, I would say, a little bit more on the medium, so like intermediate side of like complexity. It is a game about, well, the title, Fortune and Famine. A lot of silver and a lot of food, grain in this game. What you're trying to do is you're trying to stockpile your stores of grain because the famine is coming, and whoever is the most prepared is going to be the most prosperous afterwards. So it's got kind of these different kinds of mechanics, like auctioning, where you're bidding for different workers. And I'll show you some of the different cards. You've got like the steward here. Actually, let me pull it up so it's not as much glare. So you've got the steward here, right? And that's just one of these different workers that you can get. You've got the common trader and the common jester. These are all workers that are going to help you trade silver or grain for more silver or more grain. So it's kind of got like a little bit of an engine building feel to it, because you're going to be playing over several seasons, over several years. I think there's 4 years and 4 seasons. So yeah. The object of the game, you're trying to get lots of grain. You're trying to put these little, I'll show you, grain tokens into these burlap sacks that they give you.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
Material, so it's sort of like that old style medieval kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
And whoever has the most grain in these bags at the end of the game wins. Now I'll show you one of the player boards. So you've got the spaces up here for your workers, and you can also, instead of just workers, you can also get these one-use cards called Wizards, and this one is my favorite. It's called Kaiserion. To hide the name there. And Kaiserion will give you 2 silver. Pretty neat. Cool. It only happens once, but silver is what you're using to bid for these different workers. You're also paying the workers, because if they're going to give you something, they're going to need something in return, right? So you put the workers up on the top here, and then you've got your stores of grain and silver, and this is your grain that you haven't put into your supply just yet. And of course, you got like a space for your queen over here. I haven't actually shown you any of the queens yet, but they have like special abilities that will be available to you throughout the game to sort of give each time you play it a more unique feel to it. And then you've got the turn order tracker on the other side right here. So, and then I'll also show you the famine board. And the famine board is just going to show you the different events that are going to happen throughout the game, like famine, but also the different workers that are going to be available on different turns and throughout the different seasons.
Hmm.
So yeah, all in all, pretty solid game. I actually really like the mechanics of sort of almost engine building kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more workers and that you accrue, and the more silver and wheat that you accrue, the more reliant you're going to be on those workers to get you even more.
Mm-hmm.
But you've also got attack cards and pickpocket
Ooh.
cards, so you can interact with other players and sort of steal money or grain from them, or
Hmm.
even keep them from getting workers and things like that, so that you can get what you need. So since you're putting grain into these bags and sort of hiding how much you've stored up, you don't always know who's winning, like who's in the lead. It's not
Yeah.
immediately apparent. So what you have to do is you have to sort of like keep track in your head, and I'd probably ban anybody from like taking notes or something at the table.
Yeah.
But you have to like, sort of keep track in your head who you think is winning, who's got like a bunch of workers, who's been picking up stuff most of the game, and sort of gear your strategy towards what you can do to stop them. So targeting or like making deals with other players. I could see a lot of that happening throughout the game. And since this is just a prototype, we're seeing the first sort of um, idea of what the cards are going to look like and what the art
Hmm.
on it is going to look like. But from like just a first glance, I'm really, really happy with it. It's kind of got like a Euro style to it, that medieval sort of feel. And it's not a concept I've seen a whole lot. I mean, I've seen sort of games where like I guess like Everdell, where woodland creatures are storing up stuff for the winter season, stuff like that. But I like that it sort of keeps it simple. There's only two resources to keep track of: silver and wheat. And for the rest of it, you're really just competing with other players to manage your resources better than they do.
And are you trying to do you need to be the best in Fortune and Famine? If you have, can you win with like more grain? Can you win with more silver? How does that work?
There are several sets of tiebreakers, but whoever has the most grain in their bag at the end is the winner. And then
Okay.
whoever's got like the most grain that they haven't put in their bag yet, it will be the tiebreaker after that. Then the amount of silver, then the amount of workers, and and so on. So yeah, you do want to keep track of like getting as much stuff as possible, but
Yeah.
what really counts is stuffing those bags full, storing that grain for the famine seasons when they come up.
Huh.
And there's all these monkey wrenches that they put in too,
Nice.
like the famine cards that like this one that will make you lose half of all your grain that you haven't stored in your bags yet.
Oh, and that's an
Yeah.
event card. One of the events that comes out. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
one of the famine cards that'll show up throughout the
Mm.
game. So you have to be careful about managing your time and trying to be as efficient, min-maxing as much as possible, so that
Yeah.
you can say that at the end of the game, yeah, I didn't have any grain, stored up because I wasn't paying my workers as much as I wanted to, but I had more in my bag, and you couldn't see that, so that you could sort of sneak in the win there.
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because the grain is basically kind of just points, although you use it for different things as
Right.
well. Feeding your workers, you said in the game as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
But it's points. So, like you said, 2 resources. A lot of these Euro style games have like 10 resources. You're collecting this. Yeah. So, balancing that all around, I'm getting some silver, I'm getting some grain, and the back and forth from that seems like a pretty elegant way to set it up. I'm just getting silver, or I'm getting grain, or I'm losing silver or losing grain. And then people are just like throwing stuff, and the interaction too. You don't see that level of player interaction in a lot of more midway Euro type games.
Absolutely. I think they kept it simple, which was, I think, worked in their favor. And from the quality of just this prototype alone, I can't wait to see what the final product's going to look like.
Yeah.
It's not a super short game. It's going to be about 15 minutes per player. So if you're playing with the maximum 6 players, you're going to have about a 90-minute game, hour and a half. So I would say that this game is pretty good for, I think, the Eurogamer crowd, probably. Maybe not the deck building, but more of like the auctioning and drafting crowd might like it a little bit more. And it's just got enough complexity to keep your interest, and enough replayability, I think, with the different queens that you can be playing.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different types of workers, way more than I actually showed. But yeah, I think the concept is solid, and I think they have a really, really cool idea. I want to see what the final product looks like as soon as possible.
Yeah. And what are the release details for that?
Give me 1 second. I think it's going to be out in August this year. Yeah,
Ooh.
so keep an eye out on Mid-Level Meeple's website. They've also made games like Gunfights and Gambling, so definitely
Okay.
check that out as well.
And it should be $40 when
Yes,
it hits retail. So
yeah. So that's an indicator of what the component quality is gonna look like at the end.
yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely keep your eyes open for it.
Very interesting. And looks like they're going in a different direction. I always like to see that, some new innovation in
Yeah,
the game design space.
sort of Western. Now they're going for like a more like medieval fantasy kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right. So the last thing we have to talk about today for our new release rundown is the new Explorers Society faction for Malifaux. So I'm going to be showing off a couple of the new boxes here today, which is
Awesome.
very exciting. For those of you, if somehow you don't know what Malifaux is, it's a Wild West minis combat game, which has the unique aspect of being played with cards, a deck of cards as a randomizer, the Fate deck, as opposed to dice, like something like a Warhammer 40K. It has really cool background lore about how there's like magic and there's like a breach in the universe and all this stuff starts coming through. So the stories and the flavor of it is really fascinating. It has lots of different factions. I believe that there are 8 factions now, with the Explorers Society being the latest one that's just come out. What I really love about this is, and I should hold up one of the boxes here, is a dinosaur.
Oh, great.
I
That
just
looks
love.
corrupted or something.
I know. Well, yeah, because there's like the magic and the beasts and things. It's really creative. I think you have different minis games. It's like this one's science fiction, and they do some interesting stuff. But Malifaux is just completely out there with like, this person is made of fire. This person is like 10 robots stuck together, and just really pushing kind of cartoony and like a dark cartoon world, which is a really fun and interesting style for a minis game, which is super cool. I also love the deck of cards aspect of playing around. I'm going to show this off. I'll show it off a little later too. So they have the custom cards with the special suits, because each of the suits tracks to the different actions, and then you have the numbers. Instead of having the face cards, they're just replaced with the numbers here. And you have the jokers, different things here. I'll hold up one of the cards up close. Yeah, so you have
nice.
Yeah, not exactly like a little tricky to play poker with this deck, but having the custom style, the style of the cards is really super cool. And it gives that Wild West the poker feel, right?
Yeah.
And being able, since you have this hand of cards as you're playing this minis game, it kind of gives you more control over the randomness. So I'll show the character cards in just a little bit. You still have lots of abilities and things that way, but you can, it's the Fate deck, right? You can change fate.
Right, yeah. I wasn't expecting that from a miniatures game. I was just expecting like chucking a bunch of dice and a couple cards that you leave out on the table, but that's pretty cool.
Very interesting and unique stuff that they have going on here. So I'm going to read off some of the stuff that the publisher had said about this. That, again, is Wyrd Games. Dive into the exciting lore of the Explorer Society with the new faction book. You'll find 4 brand new stories and biographies of the characters. So again, feeding into that lore. Representing your favorite new faction on the table. There's, with the new Fate deck, 54 cards, each with full character art. So that's super cool. First up, I'm going to show off this box. I have 2 boxes here. The Lord Cooper core box. So I'll just hold this up here so you can get a look of some of those characters. We got Lord Cooper. We got some runaways. We got good dogs, good puppers here. So already 2 thumbs up. Cute puppies, cute murder puppies, I guess, going on. So that's really cool. And then, of course, on the back of all the Malifaux boxes, you will see the breakdown of all the characters. I'm not going to open this up because it is unassembled minis, but that's the components of that. It's going to be in this box. It's going to be the pieces. Then you're going to assemble them, paint them, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I'll go off the individual characters. I luckily received some assembled minis, which is nice.
Oh, yes. Okay, great.
Otherwise, I would have to put them together, which I've done before, but I get glue on my fingers and they get stuck together. It's tricky. First up, we have the Master, which is Lord Cooper. I'm going to try and get my camera to focus on this. You can kind of see that. The shotgun,
that big
hunter,
shotgun.
Yeah, hunter style. And each of these, they have a character card that goes with them. So this is the character card for Lord Cooper. Lord Cooper is the master, just kind of the person in charge, has some reducing damage abilities, and just cool. The ability names for the cards are also super cool. So things like Laugh It Off. If this model would be moved during an enemy model's activation or from a enemy model's effect, it may choose not to. So the way the flavor comes through the mechanics, like, ha ha ha, you can't touch me. Also, Predatory Instinct. Once per activation, after targeting an enemy model with an attack action, this model may suffer a minus to that action to receive a plus to its damage flip. So this is, again, modifying those numbers that come out of the deck. So got Master there with the Lord Cooper. Then we have the totems for this box, which are going to be these runaway characters. And there's a couple different one of those. So I'm just going to show off. I think I can get a couple up here. These poor kind of bedraggled characters here.
Awesome.
So they're a little like sad, dressed in some rags. And they got things Demise Hunted. So they actually have an ability that happens when they're killed, and they can be killed by Lord Cooper and have an effect too.
Perfect.
So by like a friendly Lord Cooper. So
sure.
It's pretty cool.
That sounds pretty friendly.
Yeah, I know, right? Friendly. Up next, we have the Model 9 here, which is this construct creature made of knives. Again, if you were to describe these characters to people, it's like, this one is just covered in and also made of knives and is a robot friend. So as an action, like
okay.
Blade Rush. When this model takes the charge action, it can move through other models. Enemy models move through in this way suffer 1 damage. So a lot of just really interesting movement abilities and area of effect, damage reduction. Very technical gameplay here for this combat.
Okay, cool.
And then we got the puppers, of course. We got the two very good dogs, Uller and Artemis. Again, I'm going to see if I can get this a little more in focus. Very small minis here. You got these.
Gotcha.
Very good.
Yeah, that looks like kind of like a hound.
Yeah, two like hunting tracking
dogs,
bloodhound dogs here.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. And they have a hunting partner ability, so they can kind of like a helper. These are an enforcer type character. And here's another one of those cards, Artemis and Uller. Again, look at this little pupper. Look how good they are. You have all their abilities up here. All their stats and abilities. By your side, this was so sweet. At the start of this model's activation, it may discard a card to place itself within 2 inches of a friendly non-minion that shares a keyword with it.
Okay. So, great.
Fun gameplay stuff. And, like characters, the puppers are really great. Really enjoy those. But then, of course, we also have the Malosaurus Rex, the big old stompy dinosaur.
Did you already show that one? Can I see it again?
I didn't show the mini yet. I only showed the box. So this is, Apex Fae character. It's broken out of its little chains here in the back. So, I mean, just look at how cool that is. And I have this is a big one too. This is a 50 millimeter dinosaur creature. Yes, I hope this is
nice.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun to
paint. Looking just like all those spikes, like just brutal creature here. And Lars, let me hold up the Cooper. If I can get one of these pieces.
It should come with like a saddle, so you could like put Cooper on top of it.
I know. Well, I think they're gonna fight. I think that's the that's the scale there for these minis about what you're talking about. So facing down that big old beast, spiky boy. I know, right? I don't know. I just see something like this, and it's a toy, and then just the cool mechanics that go along with it. Really cool. Here's the Malisaur Rex card here. So again, see our dinosaur friend. Hard to wound. Damage flips against this model suffer a minus to them, so it's a little tougher. It has the predatory instinct, rush, and it's also terrifying. See, this is dinosaurs, right? After an enemy model targets this model with an attack action, the enemy model must pass through a TN12 WP duel. Wound point on the action fails. So yeah, got a big old dinosaur, very big, very scary.
I love it. So what kind of like style of Malifaux player do you think would like this set?
So I think for this one, you got a little bit of the beasts, the Apex and the Fae. The Malosaurus Rex is for both the Apex and the Fae crews. So you have different crews going on. And then with the explorers, it's got kind of the hunting vibe to it. So I think a lot of players do care about the mechanics of it and how that stuff kind of interacts, but then also the flavor is one thing. I bought some Malifaux boxes a long time ago. I forgot what happened to them, but there was like a fire lady on there, and it's just this like really badass woman character. So I didn't even know too much about the mechanics. It's just like, this person looks really cool. So I think it's definitely a game where you can get into it just for that. Like, this mini is really fun and really cool. And once again, I'm just gonna show off these boxes because I think, yeah, if those vibes, styles, themes seem fun to you. If you're a Malifaux player, you might be always looking at the new factions, right? This came out fairly recently. If you're not a Malifaux player, you might see that, right? Big dinosaur stomp. Rawr.
Yeah, I can think about more than a couple RPGs I could use a big dinosaur in.
Yeah, I know, right? Just like, yeah, right into your D&D campaign with that. So yeah, that's the games that we have for today. Give a quick rundown of the things we covered since we have a couple of minutes left. If you do, this Lotto says, if you're not a Malifaux player, you should be. Absolutely, 100% agree with that. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in chat. We have a few minutes left before we go to break. But I think we just go over the games real quick, just to remind people
recap, sure,
what we covered. First up, we had Block Ness, 15-minute, 2 to 4 player connecting games. Let me get out my game in progress. Really straightforward rules. Placing these things, trying to block someone else. Visual logic puzzle. So you're looking at the pieces you have left, trying to plan out your routes. A little bit of route planning, actually, now that I think about it. So yeah, that's Block Ness. Great for families and also as a filler game. An amazing table presence. Like, look at that. Oof. Yeah, I just want to see that. If I saw that at a convention, I would just say like, "Hey, can I play?" Because that looks super fun.
If you like Snake, try Block Ness.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we also got Overboss. This huge box head. Yeah. If it's a tile drafting game, trying to score points based on where you can place your tiles on the boards. And it uses all the stuff, all the monsters from all the bosses from the Boss Monster games. So definitely check it out if you want something really quick, really easy to learn, but with a lot of complexity and a lot of replayability. And we've also got Fortune and Famine. Once again, this one with the cool box art. And that husband and wife pair that built this game. This is just the prototype version, but it's going to be coming out around August. If you want something with a little bit more of a Euro style to it, where you're trying to grab enough food in your stockpiles for trying to overcome or outlast the famine. Some push your luck mechanics to it, maybe a little bit of auctioning and bidding wars, and lots of interactivity between the different players.
Yeah, and if you want some, interaction, storing up some fun stuff. Yeah, and then we have the Malifaux, the new Explorers Society that we're showing off. I didn't want to give a shout out to chat. Someone was saying, "Old Slow Tiger." I'll say the Malifaux players everywhere tend to be the most friendly, laid-back miniature games I've met. So if that's
great.
kind of your vibe for playing a minis game, it's a great one to get into.
It's absolutely my vibe when I'm playing miniatures games.
Yes. I'm very much like, one thing I would say, like I've played a little bit, only dug into minis games a little bit, play a little bit of Warhammer. I saw a little bit of Malifaux in action, and it has that old action figure vibe, right? Like I got my things and my people are gonna beat up your people, and then we come in and move around and battle, but just with more rules, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, capturing that toy fun, lighthearted vibe.
Games are meant to be fun. So like if you're playing a miniatures game and you're like worried about like trying to get like a good strategy or enough tactics to actually win the game, I would say just pick a box that looks cool. If you like big dinosaurs, or if you like hunting dogs, or if you like the style of sort of just like like controlling monsters or like fighting big monsters, just pick the box that like stands out on the shelf. I think that's probably going to be something that's going to be fun to paint, is what you want to look.
Yeah, and this is just the latest faction for Malifaux. There's all sorts of other factions out there. Necromancers, sorcerers, monsters, guilds. So whatever kind of suits your fancy, there's lots of great flavor stuff out there. Looks like we also have some links in the chat if you're interested to get more information. So yeah, check out all of the links for the different groups. We have links to all these games. If you're planning to purchase it, some of these games are out already. If you want to put them on a wish list, just remember that they're going to come out. Then yeah, I'm going to show off this dinosaur
see it again
a little bit more. Yeah. Also, Gislato puts in an important point: the Cooper box and the Malosaurus Rex, and you've got enough to play a game. So with most of these minis games, you're going to choose a number. I believe it's based on soul stones for Malifaux. So you get basically an amount of resources to purchase your units to make sure that the teams are balanced off against each other. So that is something, if you go to a Facebook group like this, or if you go into a store like Mock Sporting House, right, you can ask your friendly neighborhood Malifaux players or retailers about this for, hey, what do I need to get started? When you grab a couple of boxes, right, just have this, hey, I get the cool stompy dinosaur and the hunter shotgun people, and put that together. And I mentioned the assembly and getting my fingers glued together, and it's really not that bad. It's okay. I wanted to say that. So like, I make fun of it, but it was fun. When I assembled my kill team model that I'd gotten, you sit down, you glue them together, and paint them. People go back and forth, like, do I have to paint my minis? I put it together, but I haven't painted it yet. You can still play with the pieces of it. So painting is really fun and adds some style to it, but don't let that be a blocker. If you just like get it assembled, get it on the table, start to feel the feel of the rules and playing the game. It's also cool, again, back when we can go to stores in the future, because back in the day at Mox, people would be playing these games. They have the big tables there, and so you can actually sit and watch. That's how I learned. Like, we had people who played Malifaux at Mox, and I was able to sit there, and they just showed me some of the basics of it, which is super cool.
So who do you think will win in a fight between your Malosaurus Rex and my Porcus? Because I mean, my Porcus has got a staff with a skull on it, so and wings. I mean, like a flying pig. Come on,
Javion, your Porcus is a little bit of a soft boy. Look at this. Look
maybe just a little.
I believe you would have barbecued pork after that. I'm just gonna skewer you, and I also have like 5 tongues. I don't know if you can see this like number of tongues. Oh, there's a nice focus there. Yeah, just like look at the detail
multiple
of
tongues.
this.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, the tongues, the spikes.
I don't know. I feel like Porcus is gonna give your dino a run for its money.
Porcus is clearly a master, so he gets 2 actions, but the Rex hits like a truck. So
okay. All right.
I think it would be a battle. I think that we would have some good tension there. Frequent Beef says that I'd like to paint Mr. Rar. Haven't done anything like that yet. We got about a minute left here, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and checking out these games. It's been such a pleasure to show these things off and see all the cool new stuff that's coming up.
As always, it's great to see you again, Emma. I can't wait to see you again tomorrow for the next one that we're going to be doing for the showcase. We got a bunch more games to show you guys.
Yeah, me, Javion, and I go way back. So being able to chat about games is one of our favorite things. So it's super fun chatting about that in front of you all. Make sure you stick around. We have a jam-packed schedule here for the Gen Con Spring Showcase 2021. Next up is the Key Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land from Haba, hosted by Ruel, who is also an amazing person and one of my good friends. So stick around for that and content, and have an awesome jam-packed weekend.
Thanks, everybody.